Hello, welcome to the Weight Watchers magazine guide to looking and feeling great. I'm Lynn Redgrave. Exercise, no matter what we may think, is for everyone. Proper exercise and controlled eating are the basic elements to a sensible diet plan. This cassette will introduce us to exercises that we can make a part of our lives. All these exercises are designed to help us, and you can pick the exercise that works the best for you. This program will also show us some terrific beauty tips. It's so easy to look better when we feel better. Also, in our Look Familiar segments, the High-Heeled Women, our own comedy troupe, will offer us comical glimpses of situations that should look familiar to us all. We'll also be discussing these weight loss behavioral situations with Dr. Henry Grayson, a New York psychologist specializing in this area. And finally, we'll meet people who will share with us their own inspiring weight loss success stories. So if you're ready, let's go.
Aerobics classes, and the people in them always look so perfect. How do they get that way? Well, today, we're going to find out whether we can stick with the experts. We've got a group of beginners, and we're going to work out with the big guys. Here I go.
It's the craze of our age, and even though it looks hard, you don't have to be a professional dancer to enjoy an aerobic dance class. There are no complicated steps or routines to follow. All you're doing really is keeping your arms and legs moving at a fast pace so that your heart pumps at an increased rate. Body Electric Aerobics is run by Michelle Doherty, who says that most people who come in for the first time are scared they won't be able to keep up.
When I started, I looked basically the same as I do right now, except that I was in the same, my heart was in the same shape that theirs was in. I couldn't keep up. I couldn't do the class. I could do about 5 minutes of the aerobic section. The aerobic section is at least 20 minutes long in a class. It's between 20 and 30 minutes long. I could do 5 minutes. So what happens is that their heart will get in as good a shape as I am, and one of the benefits that they'll get is the fact that when you do aerobics, you lose weight. And so I tell them, just keep it up, keep working at it, and as the heart gets in better shape, the body will too.
The key to aerobic activities is keeping your heart rate up for an extended period of time. 20 minutes is recommended, and that will speed up your body's metabolism. This, combined with a sensible food plan, will lead to that much-desired trimming down.
I had a woman come in to me, and she signed up. I saw her every day for about 6 months, and during that time I became very good friends with her. She had me to her home for a Christmas party, and I had just been teasing her about what great legs she had. She had phenomenal legs, and she got out a photo album. I was looking through it. There's a picture of a woman that was quite large, and I assumed it was a relative and asked her about it. And she started to laugh and said, Michelle, that was taken the day before I started my classes at Body Electric. And I couldn't believe it. The woman was amazing.
In the beginning, it was tough. And, meanwhile, the instructor's going 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm standing there, no more, no more. But, now it's gotten so much better. It's becoming easier to keep up. And you do see a lot of improvement quickly.
It's a really efficient way to exercise in the amount of time I have. I've been doing it for a year, actually, and I've always been working on my body and taking dance classes, doing other things, and I started doing aerobics because I couldn't get my stamina or my strength to improve fast enough, and since I started doing it, it has improved. I've also lost weight.
A good aerobic dance class has to be progressive. That means that you have to start by warming up, slowly building up your heart rate and stretching your muscles. The warm-up often includes calisthenics, which work on strengthening specific muscle groups and get you ready for the aerobics.
6, 7, woo! All right, drop that leg, turn it over onto the belly, hands at chest level, take the buttocks to the heels, stretch out.
After the aerobic workout, a cool down is important as well. Most injuries occur if you're either not warming up or cooling down adequately. Jumping up and down a lot actually tightens your muscles, so careful stretching is crucial and will give you a strong and supple body.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good clap.
At the time, I thought I was going to die, but I figure I'm doing something good for my body, so it couldn't be all bad.
Those leg lifts, it taught me something.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, if my wife does this, then I got to really start working on it.
There should never be a feeling of, can't you keep up? Why can't you keep up? You've got to know your own body. You've got to work with your own body. And by doing it that way, people work with themselves and they push themselves. They know what they can do, and eventually they can do it all.
You know, the funny thing is, there were moments there when I didn't think I could go on, but I just slowed up, I stuck with it, and I feel great. I know I'm speaking for all the beginners who came today. It's a great way to stay fit.
You know, we always seem to come up with so many excuses for not exercising, like these from the high-heeled women.
The house is surrounded. Come out with your hands up. All right, hurry it up, line it up, come on. It's been reported you bought exercise clothes. Why aren't you exercising?
I can't sweat and ruin my designer workout clothes.
You!
I tried it, just that every time someone yelled serve, I said, where's the buffet?
Your excuse.
I smoke. You can't run and smoke at the same time. I had to give up something, so I gave up running.
Oh, dear, Dr. Grayson, now why can't we exercise? There are those women with all those terrible excuses.
Well, I think they're both some external reasons and internal reasons, and this particular skit highlights some external reasons, because here you have this male voice booming with authority, this outside authority, sergeant-like quality, shouting to exercise, and that's exactly what the attitude that many people have inside, that this is something they should do, they ought to do it. You know, it's an outside authority telling them what to do. And it's natural that the inner child is going to rebel against that. I mean, who wants to be ordered around by a sergeant?
Right,
and certain kind of exercise classes and actually, you know, convey that sort of thing too. So that's one part of it. The other part is more internal, and that's the part about the way exercise makes one feel. You know, when you feel stronger, you feel more energetic, you might stand taller, walk straighter, feel more sense of confidence, prowess in your body, you move differently. That's frightening to some people. That kind of power that comes through in the body is very frightening. And it means then I can no longer be dependent, no longer get love or affection or be nurtured if I change. And it also means if I go make this choice to exercise, I'm starting a whole new direction, another way of being in my body, another way of being in the world. And that brings a whole lot of unknowns too. And so that can be scary to bring about that kind of change.
Well, a lot of us do want to exercise, but we just don't get around to it. So how can we start? What's the first thing to do?
Well, the most important thing is to be really certain yourself that it's something that you want to do. Not something that's directed from the outside, not something that you believe you ought to do. But if a person is really certain that I want this, I want it because I want certain kind of results. I want it because I will feel better. I want to exercise because I know that I can lose weight better with this. And if I do that, then that's a good way to start. But the second part of it, I think, is it's important that it begins something that they can enjoy. Not starting to do exercise that's going to be the most laborious, boring thing in the world, or to overdo it. Many people will start and overdo it, then be so sore for a week and say, oh, I'll never do it again.
Is it better to do it in company, do you think? You know, it's very hard to get going all by yourself in the morning, just do your exercise.
Well, sometimes it makes it more fun for a lot of people if it's a social activity.
Yes.
Sure. Some people find that they can do it well alone. It's a time to be alone with themselves. Some people like to walk or run or jog or things like that simply because it's a time to be alone. Others like to do it socially. And each person has to determine for himself or herself which is best for them, I think.
And what are the real benefits of exercise?
Well, aside from the ones I mentioned before about the way you feel differently and stand and walk and the energy level that's there, you sleep better, the stress level goes down. In addition to that, there are certain aspects of it that really assist one in losing weight. One is it literally speeds up the metabolism. Not just for the immediate time one eats, but it sometimes lasts as a faster metabolism for 6, maybe 8 hours longer. So that whatever food you consume, whatever calories you're taking
even after the exercise,
even afterward. So if you're planning your exercise around eating times, before eating times, carefully, you can plan it in such a way that more calories will get expended than if you eat at a different time.
Well, but to be specific, would you need to do an hour's warm-up class, or would you need to walk for an hour for it to have that effect? I mean, is 10 minutes enough? Is 20 minutes enough?
Well, each one brings a different amount. If a person walks, for example, the equivalent of just walking for an hour a day, With average metabolism, that person will lose 30 pounds in a year without altering eating one bit. But if you do more aerobic kind of exercise, obviously that speeds it up. You burn up more calories, and you also speed up the metabolism more, and which is very important, too, for some people who have gone on all these crash diets, up and down, up and down, and up and down. And what's happened is they have really screwed up their metabolism so much that what happens in a crash diet is your metabolism slows down, like I'm going into starvation. I better conserve every bit of energy, every calorie there for later on.
Right.
And so then the metabolism gets slower and slower and slower. Exercise is one way, along with stable kind of healthy eating, as a way of beginning to correct that metabolism.
Jogging used to be something reserved for athletes, but now it's a sports phenomenon in which millions of Americans are involved. Let's take a look at what jogging can do for you.
Jogging is a fantastic sport. It improves circulation and raises the heart rate. When the workload on the heart is increased over a sustained period of time to an aerobic level, the body's capacity to burn fat is increased. Running is fun, sociable, inexpensive, and it's good for you. But for all the wonderful things running does for your body, it also dramatically tightens the muscles in the back of your legs. So first warming up and then stretching is imperative for healthy running.
Oh, that felt good. Okay.
I think I'm ready.
Now we've done a little bit of walking. We're warmed up.
Yep.
You're hot.
Yeah, I'm hot.
Good.
Yeah.
You're hot.
Yep,
Good.
yep.
Everybody's warmed up a little bit. We haven't gone crazy with the running, but the blood's whipping around now. Now a little bit of stretching after we've warmed up, just before we run. So let's maybe open up the shoulders and stretch the arms up in the air and stretch back. Stretching is as important to athletic excellence, whatever your conception, your personal conception of excellence is. And it may be just walking 2 blocks. Stretching is as important if you are training to get in shape as breathing. The single most effective thing, or single most effective movement that a runner can do to prevent injury is actually a yoga position, and it's called face down dog pose. And it looks like this. And you can do this before you run, after you run. If you do it before, you want to warm up first. If you do it after, you can do it a little more strenuously, but you're stretching the calves, the Achilles, you're opening up the shoulders here, you're loosening up the lower back.
Can we run now?
The most important thing is to start slowly. Only increase your mileage as you feel comfortable with longer distances.
Meryl, how many calories do you think that we're burning doing this?
We are burning 100 calories per mile. Whether you walk, whether you run fast, whether you crawl, you burn up 100 calories per mile.
10 years ago, there were 2 million people jogging in this country. Now there are over 35 million of us, which makes running the fastest growing recreational activity of the decade. The benefits range from getting in shape to feeling what's known as the runner's high, a feeling of euphoria that runners experience as they train for long periods of time.
An important thing to remember is that you don't always have to push yourself to maintain the same speed. If you get tired, just slow down a little bit and, let your shoulders be loose and drop back a little bit. Slow down. That's it. And just kind of jog around, and then if you feel a burst of energy, pick it up again.
One of the biggest problems for many people seems to be getting started. But all it takes is that first step. Improvement is rapid. The average person will even be able to run a marathon, 26 miles, a few years after starting to run seriously. In 1970, there were only 126 starters in the New York City Marathon. 72 of them finished, and not one was a woman. Last year, 17,000 runners started, 15,000 finished, and among them over 2,000 women. So take heart, give it a shot, and you may soon be passing that finish line yourself.
I love being touched. When I'm on a set, I'm always asking people to rub my shoulders for me. So now I'm in heaven because I'm getting a professional massage.
Healing hands, the healing touch. Massage is the oldest form of healing known to man. There are many different forms of massage, all of them therapeutic in their own way.
The Swedish massage is really Western type of body therapy, and it's based on having an effect on the circulatory system, on the nervous system, on the muscular system.
Lynn, chairperson of the Swedish Institute.
Some people respond very well to massage and to heavy pressure. Some people you really have to go at their pace. The first time you see them, you may not hardly be able to manipulate the tissues at all. It would be tender, it would be sore. But a very skillfully trained massage therapist can go at your pace.
Can massage help you lose weight?
It can in a roundabout way. It's not that the massage itself breaks the fat cells and gets rid of fat cells.
It doesn't do, because people say that.
No, it's not proven to do that.
Yeah.
But what it can do is help your body facilitate waste removal, because it works on the lymphatic system, which is the system that cleans the body tissues, that removes excess water from the tissues. And by stimulating certain areas that are clogged when one is overweight or one has not done exercise, by stimulating those areas, the lymphatic system starts to revive itself very quickly. Men tend to be more sensitive in the beginning. And you wouldn't think that. The big football player would come in and say, you don't really look strong enough to do this. And within a half an hour, they're crying and begging for mercy. And the older woman will come in, who you think is everybody's grandmother, and say, could you work a little harder, put a little more pressure into that?
What about another popular form of massage, shiatsu?
Shiatsu is from the Chinese. In Chinese philosophy, shiatsu bases treating a person on a holistic level. The shiatsu is based on working with the body and the mind as one unit.
Is there an actual difference in the handling of the patient?
The Swedish system has 5 different types of strokes that will break up and vary. Shiatsu tends to use one stroke over and over, which is a pressure point type of stroke. And they are working on certain meridians of the body, certain pathways that channel energy through the body to make it's again, to break up congestion. It's still the same basic premise in both the philosophies, in both the theories. The idea is to break up things that are clogged. Shiatsu will work on pressure points. Swedish will work on all the body tissues. Many times when you're overweight or you don't do a lot of exercise, you lose your coordination. You lose the ability to sense where you are in space. Massage will help you put together the pieces of where you are and what your body is doing, and it helps you, it motivates you. Massage makes you feel very good inside your body, no matter what kind of body you have. Eventually you'll feel great, and that motivates you to make changes in your life, in your health, in your diet, and everything.
Massage can be relaxing, enlightening, and invigorating. It can make you feel free and able to enjoy your own body, which is what we're all trying to do. Ever seen those funhouse mirrors? If you stand really close, you look enormous. If you step back a couple of inches, you look like a flagpole. It all depends on just where you're standing. The high-heeled women have a few ideas about keeping your body in perspective.
Hi, girls.
Oh, hi, Arlene. Hi. You look a little sad today.
Well, I almost missed a whole day of sun trying to find a bathing suit. You know, to find a large top and a small bottom is so difficult.
Oh, I know just how you feel. I have a hard time finding a small top and a large bottom.
I can see you understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think? Do you think my thighs have gotten chunky? I mean, you saw them yesterday. Do you think they're any chunkier today than they were yesterday?
Oh, no. Yesterday they were branches, today they're twigs.
Oh, really? Thanks. My stomach. Do you think it's gotten fuller or bigger?
Oh, well, where do you keep your intestines?
You're such a kidder. Don't try to make me feel better.
Well, I don't need to. No, we don't.
And my well, thank goodness for them. But you know, I have so much cleavage. Even in a turtleneck it shows.
Oh, awful.
Now, do you think it's cheap?
Oh, men hate that. Oh, please, so cheap. They give women diamonds for it.
What good is a diamond bracelet if you've got flabby arms? I can pinch an inch lately. I'm scared.
Oh, well, there's nothing to worry about unless you can pinch a hand.
Oh,
then
good.
then it's something wrong.
Oh,
Otherwise,
okay,
don't worry.
Thanks. Well, you know, I really would kill myself if I thought I was getting flabby arms or a double chin or puffy eyes.
Oh, terrible.
Or a wrinkled forehead.
Oh.
The sun's coming out. You're not going to get any sun that way, girls.
It's all right. Okay.
Well, Dr. Grayson, how can somebody with no weight problem, as she obviously hasn't, complain like that in front of two who have?
Yeah, well, it's obviously someone such as she has totally attached her security and her sense of worth to her external appearance. So that any deviation from any kind of what she calls perfection, whatever her image of perfection is, to her is a failure, means I'm no good, I'm not lovable, people aren't going to like me.
But is she insensitive to their feelings? They were pretty upset.
Yeah, she is insensitive to them because she is so tuned into what's happening with her own inner judge about herself that she can't get past that to even be aware of what's happening and what effect she's having on somebody else.
And is that what makes her so insensitive then?
Yes,
her obsession with her own
Her obsession
faults.
with her own image and her lack of perfection according to her own image of herself. And so with the focus there, she can't really attend to what's happening with them. And so she doesn't even see what's going on with them or how their reaction is.
Well, how can one deal with that sort of cruelty? I mean, should the other two be so sensitive? What's wrong with them? You know, take her a little sense of humor about her.
Well, they could if they would let themselves see her for who she is. Unfortunately, they're hearing her comments and using those to, like, press a button that starts the inner judge tapes inside them playing. And so when they hear her describing her imperfections, then they start that on themselves, and you see them covering themselves gradually because they're becoming increasingly critical of themselves. So in a sense, they're giving her the authority to be the judge about how one should look, and then applying that to themselves and letting themselves be victimized by her.
Well, how can you stop people being cruel to you in this way?
Well, first of all, if they begin to experience that, if they would stop, center themselves by taking a couple of deep breaths, realize, okay, let's start back in here, let's see who I am, and realize, okay, that's Arlene just being Arlene. You know, she's concerned about her body image, herself. She's obsessed with whether she's perfect or not. That's her being the way she is. That doesn't have a thing to do with me. And if I can focus on her being her, then I can get back and say, okay, I can give myself some kind of affirmation. I don't have to be using that same kind of judgment for myself. I'm not Arlene, I'm somebody different.
But then, in spite of these efforts and having got themselves centered, supposing she persists in this sort of cruelty.
Yeah, she just might do that too.
Yes.
Because she might continue with her own
do?
insensitivity. I think if they continue to give her that kind of power, then they will continue to feel hurt. If they begin to realize, I don't have to give the power of judgment over to somebody else. I really can get clear about who I am, get clear about the kind of statements I want to say to myself. If I'm clear about that and keep myself centered, then I don't have to be her victim. Anybody else's victim, doesn't matter what they do, because if I get in the struggle of trying to change her, I'm only going to feel like I'm in a struggle. It's only going to be just this effort, struggle of trying to change her, and the more I try to change somebody else, the more I feel like a victim.
All of these women were sunning themselves in a resort with their bathing suits, and it does bring to mind all the horrors of teenage years of you want to have a great holiday, you want to go out on the beach, you feel you're a little overweight, you put on the bikini because that's what's in at the time maybe, and that awful feeling of people looking at you and showing off if they're better, and I can remember some pretty holidays that I had hoped would be really fun, feeling pretty ghastly to me.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if guys go through the same thing. They probably do too. There's a sort of fear of showing yourself in this less than perfect form.
Yes, people carry that kind of image, and often people, especially overweight people, will avoid looking in mirrors or looking at reflections in store windows because the minute they see themselves, they start judging themselves so harshly. Rather than just saying, okay, this is where I am right now. This is me right now, and it's neither good nor bad. I might prefer it to be different. That's okay. I'll do whatever I need to do to make it different if I have a different preference, but it doesn't mean I'm bad, or I'm unlovable, or unlikable. It has nothing to do with my worth whatsoever.
Sometimes when you're working hard at the office, at home, or even if you're on a set, it's very easy to tell yourself you don't have any free time to exercise. Now, that may be true, but there are some great exercises you can do while you work. Many of you already know Joni Greggins, the host of TV's Morning Stretch Show. Woo! Here we go. Keep going. Come on now, lift it up. Aren't you glad your body moves? Oh, given the option, you know, the Tin Man. Look at the Tin Man that had to get oil. Keep going.
pelvis joints. Keep going. Well, you know, we have fluid in our joints too, and did you know? Okay, now to the left. Did you know that exercise gets the fluid in your joints moving? That's right.
Joni's got some fabulous ideas about exercising at work. No more excuses, right, Joni?
No more excuses. Now, I'm not saying, first of all, I don't want to say that you have to, jump on your desk and start doing bizarre things. Right. We don't want you to lose your job, because then you will really have a lot of time to exercise, right? But I think a lot of times what happens, especially at work, is you find you get very stressed.
Yeah.
You know, just very little things. Maybe your boss or your coworker, or they keep passing the hat for one more shower or birthday retirement. And a lot of times this leads to overeating too, stressed out. You'll find yourself really looking forward to the donut breaks or whatever. And there's a few things that you can do, first of all, to get rid of stress. And you know, interesting thing they found out, 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, most people really go through a real low. They find that they get so tired and they get very hungry. And this is a good time, and this is usually because your blood sugar lowers. And this is not the time to run for the coffee and the Danish.
And the Danish, right.
It's really a time to do some things to get rid of stress. And
so what sort of things can we do?
First of all, just basic neck rolls, believe it or not. So if we were sitting at our desk, you could pretend you could talk to somebody if you do this, right? And you just bring the head back and forth. And the reason is, especially bringing the neck back and forth and side to side, people, especially when you're leaning over a desk, your cervical vertebrae get real tight. You know, the neck, you go around like this after a while. So you want to loosen up through here. And as you're doing this, be discreet as you have to, You want to start breathing. Don't breathe too heavily. I don't want you to draw so much attention to yourself in the office place. But you breathe in and out. And then you do shoulder shrugs, too, and bring the shoulders back. One of the things they find, especially for office workers that are leaning too much over a desk, you get up like this, and then later on you have to have all your suits made forward like this. So the same thing. And when you're doing this, you roll the shoulders back. Oh, it smells good in the studio. I didn't realize that. Forward. Back, but taking deep breaths, because most of all, when you're sitting down, too, you get all tight. You're not breathing fully. So just the oxygen, the brain goes, hey, there's some air. Now that's a sort of de-stressing things. I mean, you can do all, some twists with breathing like this.
What about legs and stuff? Because we're sitting.
Okay,
and
now there are some
straight to the bottom.
You better
half,
believe
right?
it. As I say, the secretarial spread, but it's spreading all over. Now there's a couple of things that if you just move yourself away from the desk a little bit, and if you make sure if you have one of those rolling chairs, you're not near to a window. We don't want you to fly out there. But it's simple things, just like lifting one knee off the ground. Okay, this way. Now pull it up, and as you're doing this, you go. You breathe in and you suck in the stomach, even if you have
that's important, isn't it? So that your tummy's not
exactly. Now also you can do this: is you can twist this way. Oh, you can say, yes, I beg your pardon. What were you saying? But just doing this sort of twist right here starts working the obliques, or the love handles, as they say, or the donut rolls, the Tootsie Rolls right there. And it's real effective. You can also do things with the same thing with the leg this way, where you cross it up. And then bring it to, this horrible thing, I hate it. Hi, you can pretend you can't decide whether to cross your legs or not, but what that starts...
You're not in a miniskirt.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, if you're in a miniskirt, please wear some long underwear, right? And you do this on. But when you bring the leg up and over, what you're using is the quadriceps and the cheesecake back here, see? So if I'm lifting, I'm saying hello. The people are totally confused. Pretend you're going to cross your leg. But it's easy to do instead of having to do all this jump up and down stuff, because let's face it, most of us don't want to do that. But just those two simple exercises. And also when you're sitting, if you think of tightening the cheeks, pulling in the stomach, and doing that very conscientiously, at least 2 or 3 minutes every hour, you'll even see some tremendous gains doing that.
So I suppose also we could try and walk home from the office if we're within walking distance, not take the bus. If there's stairs, don't take the elevator.
Exactly.
Things like that. And of course, we should add that we should all consult a doctor before we go into any form of exercise, even perhaps doing something as simple as rolling your neck at the office. Thanks, Joni.
If you feel like getting pampered and groomed, there's nothing quite like a visit to a beauty salon. Debbie Daly is here to change the image of her hands, and Roberta Harris is treating herself and her skin to a full facial treatment.
Hello, I'm Roberta Harris. I'm here for a facial.
Yes, that's with Bridget. She'll be right with you. Okay, the first thing, Roberta, I do is apply the cleansing cream to remove your makeup and surface dirt.
Skin has many layers where dirt can accumulate. The purpose of a facial is to deep cleanse all those layers.
I apply it in massage movements, always towards the temples, because you don't want to rub it vigorously across the skin.
Skin is very delicate and has to be treated gently. Cleansing the skin lightly with an astringent is much more beneficial than all the hard scrubbing in the world. When you go for a facial, special products will be used for your specific skin type to rebalance your skin whether it's too oily or too dry. Steam to open the pores for deep cleansing feels great, and it's all wonderfully relaxing.
I really like to have longer nails. What do you suggest for them?
Well, what we'd suggest is our flex tips. They're flexible, long-lasting nail tips. We'll apply them and your nails will all be beautiful.
Flex tips are the newest in nail care. Not only are they beautiful, but they also cover up your own nails as they grow in.
And in about 3 weeks, we'll take them off with our special remover, and we'll wrap all your new nail growth with silk. And we'll keep rewrapping it about every 3 weeks until you have the nails just as long as you want them.
Back at Roberta's facial,
I'm applying the collagen cream for dry skin because your skin is a little bit dehydrated. The mask will seal in that moisture so it can be absorbed very deeply.
this is a special mask for the rehydration of dry skin. There's an appropriate mask for each of the different types of skin and skin problems. Facial masks clean and tighten the pores and leave you feeling refreshed. Debbie now has new nails, so it's time to manicure them. Flex tips must be treated just like real nails, so careful attention to the cuticles is as important as choosing a beautiful color nail polish. And then it's time for another often neglected part of our bodies, a treat for the feet, a pedicure. Roberta's treatment is over, and she even has a piece of sculpture to take home. Nothing beats a facial for fabulous-looking skin. Having one once a month or so will ensure that your skin will stay looking clean and fresh. So indulging can certainly help you highlight the beauty you really are.
Here's Kristen Bloomquist with a different kind of success story, the battle against eating disorders.
Well, I lost quite a bit of weight, and I started with eating problems back when I was in high school, and I went away on AFS, which is an exchange program, to New Zealand, and everyone kept telling me, don't worry, you're going to be very homesick and gain some weight, but it's not something to worry about. It happens to everybody. And I was bound and determined to be different, and I decided I'm not going to be homesick and I'm not going to gain weight. And instead I started losing weight, and it kept dropping, and I finally got down to 89 pounds and looked horrid, and yet I didn't really notice it all that much because I was so in the mindset to keep the weight off and to not put any weight on.
Were you eating nothing at this time, almost?
Well, I didn't like stop eating, but I started eating tiny, tiny portions and literally pushing things, you know, into a napkin on my plate and getting rid of that. And I never threw up really, but I just kept eating smaller and smaller portions and cutting out a meal here or there and totally eliminating sweets and such from my diet.
And what did you think you looked like? Did you see how thin you were getting?
No, I really didn't notice it at all. I thought I looked terrific, and I loved being able to wear, you know, 4 layers of shirts and having my pants be big and baggy, and it was a new sensation, and I was enjoying it at the time.
And the people you were with didn't notice because you were hiding the food and...
Well, no one really noticed it at first, and yet then I started definitely looking different, and the family I was staying with got very concerned, and finally they did sit me down and to the first time, for my knowledge, made me aware of anorexia and that they thought I had a problem with eating, and they showed me some articles that were just then beginning to come out in the press because it was a while ago.
Yeah.
And I started to get scared and think about it a little bit more, but I hadn't realized it up to that point at all.
Well, how did you take control of anorexia?
Well, unfortunately, I didn't take direct control of it. I kind of moved it into another problem. I started doing the binge syndrome, and I started to eat to try and put the weight back on, or to put some weight back on, but the food was definitely still a problem, and I was still homesick and bearing that, so I would binge instead of not eating. And the weight came on quickly and fast, but it wasn't a healthy kind of weight. It was a very bloated, very much, you know, an unhealthy, fun kind of way of putting on weight.
What was the worst binge that you ever went on? Can you think of one?
There's so many, and they were awful. I think the worst period was one time it lasted for almost 2 weeks, where literally my head was so much in the mode of wanting to eat more, but my body just physically felt awful and totally full up and couldn't put another thing in my mouth, and yet my head kept wanting more and more, and I'd go to bed at night thinking, God, I just feel awful, and the next morning I'd wake up and I'd have sworn the night before I wasn't going to eat anymore, and I'd start right back in the next day. And they literally were enormous amounts of food, and it scared me.
So were you gaining weight rapidly at this point?
Well, I could put on, and this sounds awful, but I could put on 20 pounds in 3 weeks, and that I realized, you know, after doing this several times in a 4-year period, going up and down, that I had to take control of it, because even though I never really got enormously heavy, it would happen so quickly, and then I'd try and get it off so that it wouldn't stay on, but it just was taking a toll on my body and my emotions.
In many countries of the world, like Holland and China, one of the main forms of transportation is the bicycle. And now in this country, there are millions of people who enjoy cycling. So we sent reporter Amanda McTighe out on the streets with exercise expert Tom Gurgley to see what biking can do for you.
I'm going to let go now, okay?
Do you remember this?
Here we go.
The first time you rode off alone on a bicycle.
Okay, you're doing great. Yeah, great.
Today, over 79 million Americans over the age of 12 ride bikes, and it's becoming more popular every year. It's not just a fun sport, it's also a very economical way of getting around. The upkeep of a bicycle is a fraction of a cent per mile, as opposed to 25 cents per mile for a car.
Tom, there are so many bikes here, I just don't know where to begin.
Most people don't, Mandy. Let me take you outside and show you the bike I've selected for you.
Oh, great. Tom, tell me how I know when a bike's right for me.
Very simple. There are basically 3 things. It should be comfortable. The seat height should be adjusted correctly so that when you're standing next to the bike, like I am, it comes up to your hip.
Right.
When you get on the bike, and you're down in the pedal position this way, there should be a slight bend in your knee, and this way you'll be comfortable when you're cycling on the bike.
Because riding outdoors usually provides occasions for coasting, a half hour on a stationary bike will give you about the same amount of exercise as 1 hour on a regular bicycle. But both are great for burning calories. 11 miles an hour burns up about 500 calories.
It's a great way to firm up and strengthen the legs of the thigh area. You burn a lot of calories.
Do you really?
Oh, absolutely.
Is there a difference between stationary bicycles and moving bicycles that way, or are they both pretty good for you?
Both good aerobically. You'll burn a lot of calories, but I think outdoor cycling probably is a little more fun this time of the year. Stationary cycling has its advantages when the weather is bad and you're indoors and you need to work out and burn calories.
No kidding.
So
This is more fun, though.
yeah, this is a great way to stay in shape, keep your fitness level. And you can get a suntan at the same time.
Right.
And not only that, you and I have different levels of fitness, but we can work out together and have a conversation and talk and enjoy ourselves. So we can take advantage of the bicycle.
Tom, in your experience, is there such a thing as a cycling personality? I mean, a kind of person who likes to bicycle?
Yes, there is. You'll find that different people select different aerobic sports.
Right.
And it reflects the type of person they are. People who jog and really get into lots of miles are disciplined individuals, and they need structure in their life. People who get into cycling a little more recreationally oriented like to have the fun and the spontaneity of it, and they're more, generally they like to have a conversation. And you know, some of the health spin-offs would be improvements in the strength of the muscles of your body. You're reducing your heart rate and blood pressure on a long-term basis. So in addition to some changes in the way you look and feel about yourself and a change in your amounts of body fat, you're improving the health of your cardiovascular system, your heart, your lungs. You feel better about yourself, you're more efficient. And we're out here on a beautiful day, it's sunny out, we're having a nice conversation. That's how it's meant to be.
You know what else I like is you get to feel some speed. You know, it's faster than jogging.
Sure.
It makes me feel, gosh, it makes me feel fit.
The air is rushing past your face. You can look around, you can see the sights. The bike is mobile, so you can take it on the roads where it's clearly marked and you can go places. You can go out and the average person can cover 15 to 20 miles and see something. It's like an exploration. It's
Can
like
an
a
average
trek.
person really bicycle as much as 15 miles a day?
If they develop with the proper program a substantial base, they certainly can do it. Most people can cycle 5 miles the first time without a problem.
Really?
Few people can jog more than a mile, so it has many advantages.
Right.
61 million bicycles were in use in 1972. By now, there are about 100 million. So lots of people around the country are getting on their bikes. It's a great way to get fit and stay fit. And if you should ever get tired of pushing those pedals around and around, there are ways of bicycling with a lot less effort.
Hey, Mary, where are the Boston papers? I told you to get them a half an hour ago. Can't you do anything right?
They're right on your desk, Mr. Boyne.
Look at this report. You call this typing? A rhesus monkey could do this better.
I'll be happy to retype it for you, Mr. Boyne.
Where's my coffee? Where are my glasses? I'm out of paper clips. Hey, these pencils aren't pointy. Get me the number of that temporary agency.
Right away, Mr. Boynton.
Your days here are numbered.
Thank you, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, dear. Why do we turn to food, Dr. Grayson, when we're under stress?
Boy, that's really stuffing down emotions with food, isn't it?
It is.
Because here, with that kind of stress where she can't express what she feels, at least she doesn't believe she can, she's just taking it all in and just being the victim and smiling while underneath, boy, she's got to be annoyed, angry, a whole bunch of other things for that kind of treatment from a male authority.
Yes.
And so here she goes to food instead.
Well, are there some foods that actually chemically create more stress for us?
Yeah, actually some foods that people actually turn to hoping it's going to act as a sedative to calm them, and instead it does exactly the opposite. Those two foods are excessive uses of caffeine and sugar. Because what happens with each of those is the person becomes more edgy with caffeine, then it creates more stress. And in that kind of stress or tension, one's more apt to go and eat. And so often a person thinks, okay, I'm watching my food, I'm just drinking coffee. And they go from one coffee to another, or one diet soda to another, and to another, and to another, and pretty soon they're edgy, and before you know it, they're binging. And the same thing might be true about sugar, because it's one of the most powerful addictive agents. Almost as addictive as heroin, the study at MIT showed.
Really?
Yeah, and so it's there are withdrawal symptoms to getting off sugar, and so once you start that, thinking it's going to sedate me, it's going to make me feel good. Yeah, I'll get the candies that Mother gave me, you know, the cake, the cookies that made me feel good. And instead, what happens, it creates another craving. It gives a kind of an up, and then there's a drop of energy, and then whammo, you get back into the craving
What ways
again.
can we use to approach this problem?
Well, that's very important, because when there's stress there, one can begin to change some situations, like the woman in the skit might begin to speak up to her boss or assert herself, or begin to change stressful situations. If she can't really succeed with that, she might want to change jobs.
Yes.
But more importantly under that, in any situation, a person needs to know how to be in charge themselves, to be able to relax, to get centered. Take a minute, just observe your breathing, for example. Are you breathing? Is it shallow? Or is it deep?
There's a little shallow, I suppose.
Or is it fast? Or is it slow?
It's slowish.
Okay, just take a minute to observe it and to slowly begin to allow it to deepen, giving special attention to full exhalation. Don't worry about filling up like this, but just slowly exhale, fully and slowly, and feel the relaxation go through your body as you exhale fully. And then repeat that again. Just slowly inhale.
It does feel quite good, actually, even a couple of breaths. Yes, I'm not used to having to do this on television, because usually you know, tense up, we're on the air, you know. But
right, but that's what people can do, you know, for extended times, and then begin to focus systematically on parts of the body. The toes, let them relax. The feet, the calves, let them relax. And the thighs. Go through systematically every part of the body. And
while you're at
allow
work
it to
and
relax.
under stress, maybe.
Sure, sure. And especially if it's a stressful situation. Take 5 minutes to do it. Close the door someplace. If the only door you can find is to go into the to a stall in the restroom. Be alone. Breathe. You know, and then to get clear about, I need to relax, I need to get centered. How do I want to assert myself here? And if I'm clear about what I need to do to assert myself and stay clear about my own goals, I'm not apt to go in there and pick out the food.
Well, I know that I tend to be somewhat calm. I deal with things in a fairly resilient sort of manner, but when sometimes too many things get at me, it's usually outside things like a taxi driver's rude to me just on the day that my child is sick. You know, it'll be some little trigger off. And I literally do suddenly find that my heart is slightly beating, and I do feel rather revved up, and I certainly do, I often do want to turn to, you know, somebody says, oh, sit down, have a cookie or whatever.
Well, when you feel revved up, you feel like you need a sedative.
Yes.
And the sedative people use often is food. It's nice to know that there's another sedative instead of food if you want to make that choice, and that's to breathe and to relax.
Here's success story Lisa Craig to talk about her medical condition known as hypoglycemia.
You developed this condition because of your basic eating habits.
Right. I would eat maybe one meal a day, and I would make that meal something like maybe a chocolate sundae or something like that. But I was obsessed with it, and I'm 5'10". I was at the time also, and I weighed 110 pounds. I had literally no body fat at all.
What did you do when you got so thin?
Well, I would pass out. I would just pass out. I mean, I can remember just actually losing my equilibrium. Having people, I would be flat up on my back, and people would say, is she an epileptic? Is she on drugs? What's wrong with her? And it was simply from not eating.
And then you found, well, we should turn to Dr. Beasley, who's Director of Medicine and Nutrition at Brunswick Hospital Center, and Lisa, in fact, had hypoglycemia. What is hypoglycemia?
Lynn, hypoglycemia is a condition in which it means literally low blood sugar. Most people, however, have a condition called functional hypoglycemia, which means that a period of time after eating, they have a decrease in their blood sugar, which causes their brain, which is dependent upon sugar, not to function properly. So there are two types of symptoms associated with it. One of them is the one with the increased excretion of adrenaline, like nervous, jittery, shaky, anxiety attacks, and when it goes down very rapidly, and one can even faint or pass out and even have convulsions. Well, if the blood sugar condition goes down very slowly over time, then the person tends to, or stays down off and on over a long period of time, may manifest as fatigue, as drowsiness, as confusion, personality changes, and over time can present as a person can think they're really majorly depressed.
How is this associated with weight gain?
Well, of course, most people gain weight because they, eat too much or they have other problems. But in some instances, in low blood sugar, one of the things, if a person over-secretes insulin, which regulates the blood sugar and causes the blood sugar to go down, it sends a message to the brain that, hey, we need to eat. And so the individual may have almost an unconscious desire to eat, and the thing that relieves this kind of feeling the quickest is either sugar or alcohol will do it too.
Well, does that mean that if you gain weight, that you then don't have hypoglycemia, or you do? Not necessarily.
A person may have a condition. So a person then may get into a pattern of not only eating, but eating the wrong things, and so that the cure for their condition causes their condition to be worse, and so although they may feel better for this 2 hours and 2 more hours, they actually feel worse.
Well, what is the treatment for this?
The diet needs to be worked out in terms of there are two ways of doing it. A person can either use high protein, frequent small feedings, and more or less a balanced diet. One can do it with a lot of carbohydrates or complex carbohydrates.
This is a very complicated problem, and one that we obviously should seek medical advice if we think we have any problems at all like that.
We're all concerned about looking good and feeling good, but you don't have to wait until you reach goal weight to start looking great. To show you an example, we followed our field reporter Amanda McTighe to a Glenby's salon for a beauty makeover.
Hi, I'm Mandy McTighe, and we're here at the Glenby's salon. In just a minute, you'll see how I came in this morning, but this is the result of a makeover. This is my day business look.
When I came in, I looked quite different. The folks at Glenby's took me in hand, and the first thing they started with was my hair.
About the same length. I want it blunt along the bottom, blunt sort of bangs.
Okay. Let's just stop real quickly there. At this point, if you want to keep it long, we have to blend these lengths into the length here. So we've got to take off some length, about an inch, and then get the proportion right. As far as real blunt, we might use a razor and make it a little softer and not as blunt. It's something that you can also, it's versatile. You can make it very curly, blow it straight, and do many, many things with it.
There's no doubt about it, hair sets the tone, the image, and the feeling for the way a woman wants to look. Energy and attitude are the key words. Lengths and styles can differ enormously, but energy means hair at its healthiest. It's most vibrant, natural, and alive.
Can you just look at a head of hair and tell what it needs, what it's like and what it needs?
With the hair shape, the face shape, the texture, we can get an idea. But as you cut, your cheekbones pop out, and eyebrows and nose, and it just all comes together. So immediately, no, as I'm working, I start to see. We get an idea by talking.
Tell me a little about the body wave that you're going to do.
At this point, what I'd like to do is not a body wave, more of a root perm, where we're going to get volume from your root and not curly, because that look is a little bit old. With the root perm, we're going to get good body from your own root and not curly on the side, but something that's going to have some lift to it, because you want lift and you don't want tight curl, because that's
So how does that work? It's as if you curl in toward the head?
No, actually what we're doing when we roll it, we use cellophane, and the perm solution just goes on the roots, and that enables the roots to have bend, and just slightly on the end.
That's great.
Yeah, because it lifts away from the head, and that's the volume that you want, because curly look isn't it.
A hairstyle doesn't have to mean that you always look the same way. A new cut should be the basis on which to create wonderful, new and different looks.
With this haircut, will I be able to do something really wild at night and very
It'll be
staid?
asymmetrical, it'll be natural with your own curl, which is fabulous. You can gel it and make it look, quote unquote, new wave.
Right.
And then it's an attitude. It's the basic haircut, but you have to have the attitude and the clothes.
So going from a daytime to a nighttime look can easily be done. Take, for example, Catherine Ballou. This is what she looked like when she came in. In the first step, the gray was eliminated from her hair with a non-permanent rinse, and then it was trimmed and styled, not cut short. Then her makeup was applied in colors to brighten her pale complexion. And this is how she turned out in her daytime look. To turn this into nighttime glamour, her hair was pinned up with some wispy strands in the front for a sexy look. Add some big jewelry and a little extra makeup, and there you have 3 completely different people. What about me? Well, with a snip or two, I was transformed into this daytime look that I love. And a little more hairspray and creativity turned that same haircut into nighttime radiance.
Hey, this sure was fun. And anytime someone wants me to go from daytime to evening, I'm game.
You know, a lot of people think that losing weight is easy, but the hardest part is keeping it off. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. After years of struggling with my weight, I finally feel that I'm a thin person, but keeping weight off is definitely not easy, as we'll see right now.
I'm so good on my diet. I don't need a cookie. Why not? I've been so good on my diet. What's one cookie? A cookie? What's a cookie? One cookie's not going to kill me. I'll have one cookie. Just one cookie. I deserve a cookie. Forgotten. I have forgotten how good cookies were. Not just one cookie, that's all. No more. Oh my God! I've blown my diet! Well, as long as I've blown my diet, what's another cookie? 1 cookie, 2 cookie, 3 cookie. Have a cookie.
Well, Dr. Grayson, I remember that scene well. I've been through that in my past. Why do we do that? Why couldn't she stop at the 1 cookie? She had to blow the whole thing.
Well, she, like many people who go on diets, start, at least with regard to dieting, a sort of rigid black and white thinking. I'm on my diet, I'm off my diet. I'm clearly can have this, I can't have that. And it becomes an extremely rigid way of thinking. And once that rigidity gets going, then you can see what happens here. Once she realizes, oh, I've blown my diet, then I might as well say, you know, oh, I'll eat whatever I want there.
Many people reach a stage in there when they're losing weight, when they seem to be just stuck at the same weight, and they get depressed then. So how can they avoid getting depressed and blowing the several weeks that they've put into this whole thing?
Well, part of it is realizing that that's a natural consequence, especially if they have been subject to a lot of these up and down fad diets.
Yeah.
Because if they did that, their metabolism is messed up. And that means that the weight loss will be down for a while, then it will level off because the metabolism is slowed down. And it's going to take a while with exercise and a good balanced diet for that to equalize itself again. So if a person understands that and accepts it, then they don't have to be critical of themselves for not changing faster.
Do you think it's wrong then to think of oneself as cheating on a diet? Does that immediately give it the wrong connotation?
Cheating does, yes. It sets it up as if the diet has been done by some kind of outside authority. It's again putting the power outside oneself in the diet or in the program. And once a person takes the power and puts it out there rather than saying, I am using this diet plan, I'm using this food plan or this program, and to shift in one's thinking from this cheating mentality to I am choosing mentality is what makes it work.
So cheating is cheating somebody else, the outside authority, and you sort of forget that it's you who are the one involved.
It's as if I'm the child somehow and I'm rebelling or I'm cheating or I'm sneaking or something like that, rather than I'm the adult who's choosing for myself.
Why do you think we have these relapses, though? You know, we're doing just fine, and we're up and down through the years, we do just fine, and then it hits us again.
Well, relapses are often expressions of very important issues, because when one loses weight, a lot of things change. One loses a lot on one hand. One loses a kind of protection one had. Sometimes the layers of flesh are really a kind of protection against things in the world. It's a protection sometimes against intimacy, a protection against getting close. Sometimes it's a protection against having sexual feelings and acting sexually. Sometimes it's a protection against certain kind of taking responsibility in one's career or jobs. Sometimes it's a barrier socially. People use it that way. It doesn't have to be. But if a person has used it in all those ways as an excuse for so many things, then when they lose those pounds, they've lost this whole list of excuses they've lived by. And that means, what do I do now? I've got to deal with my life, got to deal with people or jobs, you know. And so I better bring these things back.
What's so wrong about, I mean, while I don't like the idea of fluctuating up and down, it's certainly something in the past that I have done. I've been one weight, I've been another lower weight. And if as long as you had enough clothes, what really would be so wrong with that?
Well, first of all, every time one loses weight, unless you're exercising, you lose muscular tissue. If you're losing weight at the same time you're exercising, then you lose fatty tissue. When you regain the weight, you gain increasing numbers of fat cells. So that every time you go back up again, you're adding more fat cells that you never get rid of.
Goodness, I thought that only happened to babies. We've heard a lot recently about babies getting little fat cells developing if you feed them too much too early, and I really hadn't realized.
That still happens with adults too.
So the longer you do this up and down, the harder it's ever going to be for you to get down to the weight that you might like to be.
Because you'll have more fat cells and because the metabolism will be off more.
So perhaps if we made the choice to, if we must have that one cookie, as you say, think positively and choose to have that one cookie. And if we absolutely had to choose two, I suppose that wouldn't be so bad as long as we don't go off that.
And if we don't punish ourselves for it.
Yes.
Because then if we have the one cookie and we say, oh, okay, I chose to have a cookie. I've not blown any diet. In that moment, I chose to have a cookie. Now is a brand new moment for me to make another choice. And in this moment, if I choose to eat the whole jar full of cookies, I'm going to add some pounds. Do I want to add more pounds? Or do I want to relish the taste of the cookie that I enjoyed? And remember that taste. It's my choice right now. It's not that I've blown anything.
Right. I hope you enjoyed the Weight Watchers magazine guide to looking and feeling great. The way to truly enjoy this cassette is to incorporate one or more of these exercises into your lifestyle, because proper exercise is a part of your diet plan. Exercise has helped me. I know it'll help you too. So take up an exercise, you'll look better, you'll feel better. Good luck losing those pounds. Goodbye.